Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Rechak Wadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of 2 Samuel, the 6th chapter. As we saw in the 5th chapter, David is anointed king over Israel, right? His kingdom is established before him. He ends up taking on more wives, more concubines, and really, sets himself up. Also takes over Jebus, right, which he renames the city of David. And we end off the chapter there with the Lord delivering the Philistines into the hands of David. So this is chapter 6. Again, David gathered together all the chosen men of Israel, 30,000. And David arose and went with all the people that were with him from Baali of Judah to bring up from thence the ark of God, whose name is called by the name of the Lord of hosts, or in other words, the ark which bears the name of the Lord, that dwelleth between the cherubims. And they set the ark of God upon a new cart, and brought it out of the house of Abinadab that was in Gibeah. And Uzzah and Ahio, the sons of Abinadab, drave the new cart. So they were the ones basically pulling the cart, or as they would follow, or the people would follow them to transport it to its new location. And they brought it up out of the house of Abinadab, which was in or at Gibeah, accompanying the ark of God. And Ahio went before the ark. And David and all the house of Israel played before the Lord on all manner of instruments made of fir wood, even on harps, and on psalteries, and on timbrels, and on cornets, and on cymbals. So they were rejoicing. And when they came to Nachon's threshing floor, Uzzah put forth his hand to the ark of God, and took hold of it, for the oxen shook it. So at this point, it seems that, they were like, as the oxen that were driving the cart maybe stumbled, it looked like the ark might have, shaken or was about to fall or something like that. And so Uzzah basically grabs it. Now in his mind, he's thinking, well, he's trying to hold it so it doesn't fall, or it doesn't, potentially fall. Verse 7, and the anger of the Lord Yahweh was kindled against Uzzah, and God smote him there for his error. And there he died by the ark of God. And the Lord did this because when you go back to the Torah, right, there were specific instructions the Lord had given Israel concerning the holy things and the ark. And I'll just get a precept on the holy things. I believe it's Numbers, is it 15? Or maybe is it Numbers 4 and 15? Yeah, I'll read this real quick. And I believe there's also a precept in Exodus that goes along. But the Lord commanded Israel that when you were to transport the ark, which was to be done by the priests, right, they were to basically make rings on the sides of the ark. Let me just pull up an image here. The Ark of the Covenant. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, so either one of these works, but these rings would be on the sides, 4 rings, and they would be able to put the pole right through it. That way, the priest would bear the ark, meaning they would hold the poles on each side, and then they would carry it forth that way. And that was to make sure that they wouldn't have to touch the actual ark per se, and this way they could transport it when need be, because it was holy. So going to Numbers 4 and 15, and when Aaron and his sons have made an end of covering the sanctuary and all the vessels of the sanctuary, as the camp is to set forward, after that the sons of Kohath shall come to bear it. But they shall not touch any holy thing, lest they die. These things are the burden of the sons of Kohath in the tabernacle of the congregation. So The Lord is very specific on matters like these, and that's why it says he smote, meaning he killed Uzzah for his error. So more than likely, right when he touched that ark, he died. And David was displeased. You go into that word displeased, it means he was angry because the Lord had made a breach upon Uzzah. So, once again, as the Lord, the Lord mentioned, right, by the mouth of Isaiah, that his ways are not our ways. So what may not have seemed like a big deal, in fact, to the Lord is. And so at this point, there was this the pausing, right, of this celebration because of this incident that had happened. It says here, and he called the name of the place Perez Uzzah on to this day, which is like breach on Perez. I believe that's what the name means. Or Slakia, breach on Uzzah. Let's go into it. Here we go. Or breach of Uzzah. Breach of Uzzah. Verse 9. And David was afraid of the Lord Yahweh that day, and said, how shall we, or how shall the ark of the Lord come to me? Because he was trying to transport it, I believe, to the city of David. And now with this happening, right, everybody was basically in fear. Like, damn, like, shit, is the Lord upset? Is he mad? Like, how are we gonna, like, let's just slow down. Let's just chill out for now, because we don't want to incur any more wrath, if anything. So David would not move the ark of the Lord Yahweh onto him into the city of David. But David carried it aside into the house of Obed-Edom, the Gittite. So they basically put it on at his place rather than taking it all the way back or all the way to the city of David. And they left it there for a while. And the ark of the Lord Yahweh continued in the house of Obed-Edom, the Gittite, 3 months. And the Lord Yahweh blessed Obed-Edom and all his household. So, like, let me see, what's like an example here? Let's say you're a kid, right? And, maybe it's, you and I don't know, maybe it's you, your father, your cousins, right? And so on, right? And everybody's chilling and so on and so forth. And maybe you're all in the car going somewhere, so everybody's laughing and chilling and stuff. And then let's say like one of your cousins says something like out of pocket, and your dad like gets very angry, like he just like super angry and just like scolds him, like yells at him, rails on him. And at that point, everybody just gets quiet because you're little kids, right? And you hear a grown man raise his voice like that, everybody's in fear, everybody just gets quiet. And now for the rest of the ride, it's all quiet and awkward and nobody wants to say anything. And you think that, damn, if you even sneeze the wrong way, you might get that your dad might turn that wrath on you. So everybody just sits quietly, the mood is gone, and you just call it a day, right? And it isn't until maybe some time after, maybe that night or the next day or something, they slowly start to go back to normal and so on and so forth. So just to put like a almost like a carnal example to like the kind of feeling or the atmosphere that a situation like this creates, which is why they didn't they didn't continue to take the ark to David, the city of David, for that period of time. So for 3 months it dwelt with Obed-Edom, as it says here, and the ark of the Lord Yahweh continued in the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite 3 months. And the Lord blessed Obed-Edom and all his household. And it was told King David, saying, the Lord hath blessed the house of Obed-Edom and all that pertaineth unto him, because of the ark of God. So David went and brought up the ark of God from the house of Obed-Edom into the city of David with gladness. Because now it was more like, oh, okay, so we're good then, right? Like, I mean, the Lord is blessing him. So clearly, all right. So, like, if the Lord was angry, I think he's calmed down now and we're all set. Let's go get the ark. Verse 13, and it was so that when they When they that bear the ark of the Lord had gone 6 paces, it's about 6 steps, he sacrificed oxen and fatlings. And David danced before the Lord Yahweh with all his might, and David was girded with a linen ephod, which is something usually the priests wore. So David and all the house of Israel brought up the ark of the Lord with shouting and with the sound of the trumpet. And as the ark of the Lord came into the city of David, Michal, Saul's daughter, looked through a window and saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, and she despised him in her heart. So when she saw that, she was disgusted by it. And as we read further, it'll expound a bit more on that. And they brought in the ark of the Lord Yahweh and set it in his place in the midst of the tabernacle that David had pitched for it. So David had already prepared a tabernacle where they would place the ark. And David offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord Yahweh. And as soon as David had made an end of offering burnt offerings, now when it says here that they offered these offerings, similar to even at the time of the when the temple was actually built by Solomon, oftentimes you'll hear like Solomon offered this or this person offered that. The physical aspect of actually doing the offering was done by the priests, right? But it was like your offering. If you bring an offering to the Lord, you're not going to be the one who's cutting the animal and the blood and doing the actual ritual. That's the priests do that. But it's an offering in your name. So when it says that David offered these offerings, that's basically how it is. It's like when you quote unquote build a house and you're not really Bob the Builder, right? You're not the one building it from scratch. You have actual construction workers and architects and so on doing that, but it's your house. They'll say such and such, that's such and such's house, right? They built this house. So you get the point. And as soon as David had made an end of offering burnt offerings and peace offerings, he blessed the people in the name of the Lord of hosts. And he dealt among all the people, even among the whole multitude of Israel, as well to the women as men, even, or to everyone, a cake of bread and a good piece of flesh, which was a part of the offering, right? As it mentions, there were peace offerings here. So once it was offered, there would be a portion to the priest and a portion to the people. So everybody here got some cake, right? They got some bread, they got some meat. It says here, and a flagon of wine. Now, when you actually look into the various translations of this, this flagon of wine isn't actually like wine, but that of like um, a cake of, I think it's raisins. If I'm not mistaken, I believe raisins are actually dried up grapes, right? Raisins, grapes. Yeah, so they're dried grapes, and it's from grapes that you have wine, right? The blood of the grapes. So when you actually look into this flagon of wine, let's first look into the interlinear. Yeah, so flagon, it says here, raisin cake used in sacrificial feasts, consistently translated in AV as flagon of wine. So that's what it's talking about. It's actually talking about a cake, not like yayan or like an actual drink. And you'll see most of the other translations have it as such as a cake of like raisin cake. So all the people departed every one to his house. Then David returned to bless his household. And Michal, the daughter of Saul, came out to meet David and said, how glorious was the king of Israel today, who uncovered himself today in the eyes of the handmaids of his servants, as one of the vain fellows shamelessly uncovereth himself. So she basically came out there with attitude towards him, disgusted by the fact that as royalty, he was basically dancing and moving amongst the people like a common person, like a common folk. And for her, she was the daughter of Saul, right? So she basically lived under that like royal household, and manner for so long. So in this, seeing this, she's kind of like in her mind, you're behaving yourself in a manner that's unbecoming of a king, to move like so commonly among the people, dress like that, and so on. And David said unto Michal, it was before the Lord who chose me before thy father and before all his house to appoint me ruler over the people of the Lord. Don't forget that. Number one, right? I was dancing before the Lord. I was celebrating for the Lord, the same Lord who chose me above your father. Don't forget that. Over Israel, therefore I will play before the Lord. So, well, and as he continues to say, and I will yet, when he says play, means to like dance and celebrate and so on. And I will yet be more vile than thus, not vile in the sense of like vulgar, but vile in the sense of more base, right? More common. I'll behave, I'll even humiliate myself if I have to for the Lord. Okay. Ain't no woman about to tell me how to rejoice in the Lord. And I will yet be more vile than thus, and will be base in mine own sight. And of the maidservants which thou hast spoken of them shall I be had in honor. So those maidservants that you're talking about, that, oh, I'm moving so regularly and so on amongst them, guess what? They will honor me. Why? Because I'm honoring the Lord. Therefore, Michal, the daughter of Saul, had no children unto the day of her death. Now, it's not specific. Like, it doesn't specify, the scriptures don't specify whether this was due to the Lord, like a divine punishment, like the Lord making her barren or closing her womb, or due to David just, after that day, just deliberately not laying with her to the point of her having any children. But either way it was, she had no children until the day of her death. And that was a reproachful thing, especially in the ancient world. And that also brings us to the end of 2 Samuel, the 6th chapter. Lord willing, this is edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.